Yay! Day 4 frequency speak. Today I have more energy because it's not so late. Um, I was just thinking when I was even signing up to this, well, signing up in my own mind, it's not like I'm wedded to this challenge, but I've decided I'll give my best. I was just laughing with my really good friend on the phone the other day. I can't believe that I signed up for 111 days of something that's not even easy. And I was laughing. I don't think I've ever actually brushed my teeth for 111 days straight without any interruption of the routine. People always talk about this routine. Oh, do something for 21 days, or that's the typical one. But people have different, even little bit longer time frames. If you do something like some exercise like morning yoga exercise or whatever you want to integrate into your life, that you have to do it for 21 days and it'll become easy, it'll become like second nature, like brushing your teeth. That's always the example people give, and I'm always like rolling my eyes, like brushing my teeth. All my life I haven't gotten it into my routine. I am not a routine person. I haven't even had couldn't survive a 9 to 5 job Monday to Friday. I would absolutely go mental. School was so hard, Monday to Friday, every day. At least I enjoyed a little bit of routine, that some days you had longer, but some days you had shorter days and you had some PE in the middle of the mix or something. So, no, not a routine person at all. And now, going back to the human design, now that I learned about the human design, that makes complete sense as well, because based on my human design profile as well, it's very, very clear that I'm not a routine person. So 111 days doing something that's actually time consuming and hard. And some days I might come here and I'm excited and have something I want to talk about specifically. And so I'm sure those days will be exciting and easy. But other days, oh, I'm already stressing about it. Yesterday was so hard to get myself out of bed. But here I am now, full of energy. I was visiting a friend today, had my kids with me. She has a child the same age as my daughter, 10. So we had a lovely catch up. It was so nice. So it actually gave me energy. And I was fed and cups of tea and coffee were made. So I'm happy. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about yesterday, and I was too tired for, but now I'm gonna talk about it, was about this movie, K-Pop Demon Hunters. So I watched it for the second time in my life with my kids. First time I already noticed one layer of things that was like very, very big message that I could see in the movie. And then this time I saw even more layers. Really, actually, I love this movie. I think the newer movies, it's not only my opinion, but I think a lot of the newer movies for kids are way different than the movies were in the 80s and 90s and, when I was a child. Very different, many more layers, many more depth, much more depth, much more than just like a princess being saved by a kiss by a prince. So I like that. So the biggest thing I wanted to talk about this movie, and it's also connected to why I'm even here in YouTube, and one of the traumas of my life and in many people's lives, which maybe somebody here will recognize as well, probably most people who are self-aware enough, it was that this girl Rumi, I'm not sure if you have seen it before or you haven't. There might be some spoiler alerts, even not spoiler. some spoiler alerts, so if you haven't seen it, maybe you don't want to listen to this video for the rest of it until you go and watch the movie. But the biggest lesson and the biggest message that I took from this movie, that I already actually talked to my daughter, who's 10, as I said, after we watched it together for the first time, was that this one girl from the girl band, Rumi, is a daughter of half demon. The father was a demon. So in this movie, the demons have this tattoo-like patterns on the skin. And as a child, she already had those patterns. And she didn't grow up with her parents, but whoever, I didn't look into the detail of this movie, like I haven't looked any reviews or any background information, but basically the woman that she grew up with loved her very much apparently, and wanted best for her, but she told her to cover up and don't show anybody these patterns. So she did, but all her life this girl, she was fighting demons with her music and physically as well. So all her life she felt like she was a mistake, that she shouldn't even happen. So she lived all her life with this identity of I'm a mistake. And at some point these patterns become too obvious and everybody finds out. Her friends from the girl band find out and turn their back to her because she has the marks of the demon. And she's going back to this. I'm sure there's more significance to this. I'm interested to now look into this movie a little bit deeper. But she's meeting this woman who raised her at this big, massive tree that seems to have some significance in the movie. And she's quite upset, and she's telling this woman to look at her. And the woman just can't. And she's like, why can't you accept me the way I am? So she's very upset, and the woman just like unable to look at her, and she loves her, and she wants good for her and all of this, but she's just not able to look at her the way she is and accept the truth of who she is. So very, very deep learning here, the way we live in our society, and part why I'm here as well. And what I'm trying to do very different with my children actually. And everywhere around, things have gotten better since the 80s and 90s, but everywhere around, even I see around when so many other parents that I come across, closer or not closer, I can see the same patterns, how parents are not able to accept the children the way they are. They have this, and to some extent probably me as well, because it's very hard to decondition myself, but I'm actively trying to decondition myself and accept my children exactly the way they are. But it's a real human struggle, and a lot of us have grown up with this, especially now when I'm thinking about my own human design journey of being a projector. Yes, great. My phone got full again, only after less than 9 minutes. I really have to sort out my phone. This is my husband's phone now then. So today I'm not gonna just cut it short, because I actually want to talk about this, what I was saying. So where was I? The projector's life in a manifestor's created world is what I wanted to talk about. Is this. So who knows, who doesn't know yet, I'll shortly say where human design is coming from. So it's a channeled material from this guy called Ra. I forgot what's his real name, or like born name, given name. So this guy Ra, it's a very interesting story. You can easily find it in YouTube as well, how this information just came to him. But it's basically a mix of Chinese I Ching, which I don't really know much about, Kabbalah, and astrology, and it incorporates the chakra systems. So it's a mix of, it's kind of like a deeper level of a different practices kind of put together. So it's a big system, very deep, and it's still, as I understand, is still not given to us fully yet, because we are not fully ready to comprehend. So even for him, the information was coming through quite a long time, and it took him many years to even understand many aspects of it. For example, projectors. In the beginning, he was like, what are these useless human beings in here at all in this world? Because manifestors are the people with lots their own energy center and generators. And most of the people on the world, like 70+% people, are either manifestors, generators, or generating manifestors, which is kind of like a blend between them. I think they are still, some consider this as a fifth type, and some consider them still generators with some, tweaks. Anyway, so they are quite powerful, they have energy to create, and they have created the world the way it is over hundreds and thousands of years. And the world is created by generators and manifestors for generators and manifestors. And they haven't really understood the projectors, and the society doesn't really allow a good way to function for projectors in this world at the moment, but this is slowly changing. So projectors only came to be on Earth, just to be even born, to be even existing, about 250 years ago. So quite new. And even Ra in the beginning was focusing mostly on generators and trying to teach generators. And if I can teach a few really awakened, enlightened generators about this, then they will take it upon themselves and many things in the world will change. But it didn't happen. So after years, working in this system, Ra took him many years to figure out the role of projectors, which will be the leaders of the future, but not leaders in a way the manifestors and generators have been the leaders, but more like leaders, kind of like guides, not like being on top like a king or army general or a president, more like a I suppose I'm looking for my own words. More like a guide rather than a leader, I suppose. Somebody who will give people advice rather than tell them specifically what to do. But because depending how the advice is given, if it's taken upon and practiced, that's how the world can change. That's one way. Anyway, so Ra, in one interview, I remember, was explaining how even being a projector child in this manifestor world, and most likely, statistically, very likely, your parents were generators or manifesting generators, and the whole school system is created by generators for generators. But projectors really need the space. They're so open for the environment and the energy of the people around them. So if they spend the whole day in school, every day, Monday to Friday, that is very difficult for them. And even if they do this, or if I for example, would do something like this, spend the whole day in school, they really need their time then to connect with themselves and kind of clear these energies and come back to themselves and not to get burnt out. And many projectors are raised in a way, and the expectations are to behave in a way as generators would, which is do, go to school, then come home. Many parents would push their projector children into after school activities, and then you go to your swim lesson, and then you go to your basketball, and then you have to do this and that and that, and go outside and play with your neighbors. It's all very great, and it's all done with the best intentions. But for projector, that's just constant go, and no time to go into themselves and recover from all that social activity that they've had. So already just being a projector child in a generator world is quite traumatic, even if you didn't otherwise have a traumatic relationship with your family or extended family. If school was good, everything was good, no trauma with capital T, as Gabor Mate likes to say. The trauma with the capital T is the big stuff that happens, but then this would be the trauma with a small t. It's just, it doesn't look like anything, but if you all the way have to live in this kind of environment, it gets many projectors burnt out. And also me, I touched it in earlier video, I think, was how I was trying to fix myself the whole time. I was like, why don't I have this energy? Why can't I do this? Why can't I manifest and generate all these things? What's wrong with me? And I'm going from one healer to another therapy and something else and something else and something else to try to fix this. I'm like, why do I need to, like, something wrong with me? Am I depressed? And like many friends have actually said to me, like, oh, Ari, I think you're depressed. Maybe you need to, talk to somebody. I'm like, I don't actually feel depressed. It's not like when I go retreat into my bedroom with my cup of tea or cup of coffee for hours, or go for a nap in the middle of the day. Sometimes I feel low, and sometimes I've thought maybe I have depression, but I don't actually. I've actually seen therapists, and nobody has diagnosed me with depression ever. With burnout, yes, but that completely fits into the picture. So many projectors put their bar up and compare themselves with generators, and they're like pushing themselves to be generators, but they're not. And the 9-to-5 job and the rat race of like career and this and this and this, and do everything, and then inside they feel like they're not right. What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Now, me, luckily, my parents didn't push me after school activities, so I did have time to be quiet and have my own time after school. I didn't have to necessarily, yes, I was out and playing with my friends and doing stuff like any normal kid, but I did actually have the luxury of have a lot of home time and calm and, time for myself. So that was a blessing, I suppose, now in retrospect. And also, somehow my career choices have been such as I always had time. I never worked 9-to-5 job. I was mostly working. My my career was, I was a nurse, and I was working pretty much all of my time in agency. So I could choose every week, I could choose my own hours. So I did a lot of this. I would do crazy hours when I felt like I needed maybe a boost of extra money for holidays or something, whatever. I wanted to buy something, and I wanted to buy a new computer, for example. So I pushed myself to do a lot of hours, and then I would take a time off and go off on holidays for a week or two, go to Estonia for half a summer or whatever I was feeling, and then I would come back and I would have to work. So this I figured it out without looking into my human design very early in life, that I was so happy when school was finished, and I didn't have that Monday to Friday. Like in medical school, we still had more routine. It's not like some of the university courses, you don't have to attend lectures, but we had to attend lectures, but you could skip some because you were somewhat older, and it wasn't, your parents weren't there breathing behind your neck and getting you up in the morning, so you could sometimes go home early or whatever, and then you could manage. I managed. I still finished my degree. So so somehow I had luckily chosen myself a career that allowed me to do more work or less work, depending on however I felt. It was very difficult then when I had actually my children, which I couldn't turn myself off. I stopped working, so I've been home 10 years not working. Not working as a nurse. I've done a few clients as a nutrition therapist or as a doula, here or there, but I didn't get back into like proper full-time or even proper part-time, proper regular job. Not yet. I don't know what I want to do still. So, but the real struggle was, and the burnout came with the kids actually, because there was no switching off, and I had decided to go full on, full on mommy mode, of starting from home births to breastfeeding 3.5 years, both children, and baby carrying and co-sleeping, and really being present for the children and allowing them to have their emotions. So now coming back to not seeing your children for who they really are is very, very common. Very, very common. And I suppose nobody can really see another person very clearly. Oh, that's actually another projector trait, is that they have a very penetrating aura. They just look at somebody and they can just look straight into their soul. And that brings up its own problems in many levels. One of them is one of my biggest struggles and core wounds that I'm struggling in this life is actually, I feel that I'm not being seen, hence I'm here showing myself. But yes, and it's really come up very intensely the last few months. Let's say since this middle of this summer, this wound of not being seen is coming up very, very much, like people projecting their own stuff on me and not seeing me at all, just seeing their own reflection in me, or get their own triggers from me, but actually not seeing me. Even though I see myself quite clearly, I think. I'm sure there's always new layers and new layers that I'm sure there's aspects of me that I don't see. But see, the projectors, they see people very clearly, and situations and patterns and systems. So this is the superpower of projectors, and that's how they will be the guides of the future, because they can just they take a step back and they can see systems very clearly, which I can relate to. For example, medical system. Even the way I was working in the medical system, as I said, I did the agency, so I was working in 3 different countries. In Estonia, about a year, a little bit more, plus my training time. In Australia for about a year, and mostly then in Ireland for the rest of the time. 7-8 years or so. And I was, as agency, I was working everywhere with all different kinds of fields, different hospitals, different countries, as I said, from heart transplantation unit all the way to maternity and any field that you can imagine. I probably worked in there. And as such, I don't really know any of this field very specifically. I'm not really, I was never long enough anywhere to really go very deep in one specialization. But it was actually my gift that I was like going everywhere, and I could see the patterns and see the system from kind of bird's eye view from my experience. So, what was I saying? Let me take a little step back. So the projectors, often they're one of the core wounds in life, and they're the main issues that they have to deal with, whatever way they find to deal with it, is the wound of not being seen, which brings me back to the Rumi from the movie, because she was also not being seen and for who she was, and she had to always cover herself up and hide herself, and she couldn't just be who she wanted to be and who she actually was. So I've been feeling that a bit as well in my life. So yes, this is one of my main reasons why I'm here talking as well. But why do the projectors have that wound specifically is because we see people very deeply, like we can just penetrate them and see them very clearly. But the generators and the manifestors, they just don't see even each other, or don't see us the same way as we see them. It's just their one is not bad or wrong or better or worse. It's just different. Everybody has their pluses and like the good and the bad, and their strong and the weak signs, and the gifts and the struggles. But projectors often miss the feeling of being seen because they know how deep they can see themselves and see each other. But if they're surrounded by manifestors and generators, then they're just not being seen, and that's just the design. That's the way things just are. And that now that I'm understanding it, I can maybe accept that a little bit more, and maybe I'm starting to maybe think that I should connect with some other projectors specifically and see. I don't think I know anybody in my life. Everybody whom I've asked who know their human design type, none of my close friends have told me that they are a projector. Many of them just don't know. They haven't figured out what they are. But the ones who have, none of them are projectors. I know one reflector, no projectors. So yeah, the not being seen came up in the movie very, very much. And it was such a big moment for me, and the big message in that movie for me. And I did sit down and talk to my children about it, especially my daughter. My son is not really ready for these types of conversations. He's not listening. But yeah, so I wanted to talk about this, not being seen and being seen, and seeing each other and seeing your children. I feel like I wasn't seen as a child. I really feel that. And I'm now trying to do everything in my power, very knowingly, from the beginning, before I knew about human design specifically, or before I saw this movie, or I've just known to do my best to see my children the way they are, accept them exactly the way they are. For example, my daughter, she's 10. She's not a competitive person, but she's super agile, physically, so capable. She learns all of many things, but especially physical stuff, so quickly. She's so able, as a baby already. She could go up and down the stairs, climb any tree. I didn't never have to be worrying about falling or her falling out of the tree or something, because she was just so careful and adventurous at the same time, very much like my husband. Who is a skydiver, and me too, so that's how we met in skydiving. But my husband is way higher level skydiver than I ever was, so he's doing crazy things. If anybody knows about skydiving, he's swooping which is super dangerous. Even if you think skydiving is dangerous, then swooping is next level dangerous. And he's on a motorbike and all of this, but he's doing it all with a very level head and always risk aware and understanding his body and the surroundings and everything. So my daughter is just like this. So she's doing loads of sports. She's doing gymnastics since she was 2, and then added ballet, and now then later added modern dance, and she's doing taekwondo. But it's kind of difficult for me to accept. She doesn't want to do it in a competition level at all. I'm like, you've been doing gymnastics 8 years, but by the time you're 10. But she does not want to do, she's not a competitor. And well, I'll accept this. This part of me is still itching, like, oh, I would be so proud if, she would compete and she would probably would be really, really good. But she just doesn't have it. She doesn't want to compete. She just does it for fun. She enjoys it, and that's it. And it's good for her, and I allow her. And so like 99% of the time, I accept that. And I actually do 100% of the time, I accept that, and I see that, and I'm not even pushing her into competitions, or like every now and then, like once or twice a year, I ask her like, oh, do you want to maybe think about this, or do you want to try some competitions? Or now it's a little bit late, I think, for gymnastics competitions, because the girls are way ahead of her. But yeah, anyway, so that's one of the examples how many parents would not let the kids choose not to compete, for example, if they would be good at something. I'm not saying everybody, I'm not saying that I'm so great, oh, look at all me, but because of my own specific not being seen and not being accepted wound, and not kind of fitting into this generated society wound, has made me very aware of this. So I'm very consciously trying to accept my children exactly the way they are. And I feel that I see them very clearly. And they're always in change and in motion as well, and as am I. Anyway, that was one point I wanted to talk about. One layer, one kind of take-home message from that movie, and connecting it. So from what I saw from the movie, this message, this pattern, how I connected to my own life, how I connected to human design, and that was my little rambling about it. There was another actually thing, completely different topic, I saw in the movie. Maybe I'll talk about it tomorrow, because today this one is getting quite long. My aim is not to do 2-hour messages here, even though I could if I'm in the flow. One day it could be 2 minutes, and next day it could be 2 hours, but no, I'll try to keep it more reasonable. Yeah, well, whoever made it so far, thanks for listening. If you have some thoughts, you want to speak along, or say something maybe resonated with you, maybe not at all, feel free to comment, subscribe, like if you did. My goal, I'm not actually here for subscriptions or to make myself a YouTuber or anything, but I discovered that having 50 subscribers, if I have 50 people subscribed to my channel, I can do live calls from my phone anywhere, and that'll be super easy and super handy. I could just, whenever I have a moment on the go, I could just do a quick live. So that's my little goal here, to have 50 people subscribed. So yeah, do that please. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.